between the realm of the dead and the journeys of the living. Join Josh, Jamie, and Elisa as they delve into the vast world of the paranormal and breathe life back into the history of the departed.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Paranormal Peeps podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Jamie.
And I'm Elisa.
And Jamie, what are we talking about today?
I don't know why you think I always got to do something.
I mean, you don't have to, but it is your episode, so it would be preferable you do a little something.
Okay, well, in that case, I did throw something together.
Perfect. So we got like 30 seconds? 45? Is a clip?
Maybe 5 minutes? A little snippet?
A little snippet.
Okay, so, well, mine is on Fonti Flora Plantation.
Fonti Flora?
Fonti Flora.
Flora. Okay, I was like,
So,
Fonti Flora, what?
It means fountains and flowers.
Oh, cute.
So, this house was actually built in the early 1800s. So now I've seen conflicting things. So I watched something of one of the descendants of the family talking on record saying that a lot of people report it built in like 1836, but it was actually built in 1808. Now, everywhere I've looked, it says 1836.
Go with that.
So, you know what? I'm just going to say it was built in the early 1800s.
How do you get a 28-year difference?
I don't know, but see, here's the thing. The one I watch is coming straight from the owner's mouth, and it's been in his family since like the early, like 1700 and something, early 1800s. It's been in his family. Like, you know, a lot of these places change families.
Right.
No, his is the same to this day.
And what is he saying?
He's saying it was actually built in 1808.
Well, then I would feel like that would probably be the most correct, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but I tried to look and, you know, go a little bit deeper, and everything is like 1836. But he was like, no, a lot of people say it was built, you know, later, but that's when the tornado happened, he said. And I'm like...
because it was probably maybe like a rebuilt or an add-on that they did on the house, maybe?
No.
Really?
Yeah. That's what I was hoping to come across.
Huh.
Some explanation as to why there's such a huge difference.
Maybe the issue is the county records were wiped out by the tornado.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't even find any indication that there was a tornado, but he says there was a tornado in 1836 that ripped through there. I don't know. And that's straight from the owner's mouth. So I'm like...
I'm sorry. I don't do a whole lot of movie references or TV references, but this reminds me straight out of a Simpsons episode with the hurricane, where they're like, well, there's no record of a hurricane ever hitting Springfield. And it's like, well, yeah, but mysteriously in 1908, the Hall of Records was blown away.
Oh, it's a mystery. Okay, so built in the early 1800s in Blair, South Carolina. The architecture style is a cross between Gothic Revival and Greek Revival. It's actually a really nice home, which I will post pictures.
Does anyone know what the differences between the two are?
Not
No.
a thing.
Okay. Like, I don't either.
I don't either. But if you want to know, go look it up. The house was built by Dr. George Butler Pearson and his wife, Elizabeth Alston Pearson. Now, the Alstons, which is her maiden name, her family was the first family in the county.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they settled it.
Yes. So anyways, him and her got married, and the land the house is built on was the dowry that he got for marrying her. It was Elizabeth's dowry.
What
Oh,
a
wow.
dowry.
Yeah, it was 3,000 acres.
3,000 acres.
3,000 acres.
What would I be worth? How many acres would I be worth?
I'd be
Well, when
worth
you
like,
settle the land, I mean, you get to pretty much claim as much as you want, I guess,
that's
right?
huge.
Yeah.
3,000 acres. I couldn't even imagine.
Is that part mountain by chance?
I don't think so, huh?
No, I bet you it's flat as a pancake.
Yeah. Originally, there were 3,000 acres. Then, in 1927, 1,500 acres was lost in a poker game by the current owner's great-great-grandpa, who went back the next night thinking he was going to win it back, and he ended up losing another 300 more acres.
Whoa.
So a considerable amount, over half.
Like 1,800 acres.
Yeah.
So you went,
I would be so pissed.
Yeah, I would be too. Well, and then today, I think what's remaining of it is still quite a bit. It's like, I think 600 and some acres, I believe, is what's left today.
It'd be 1,200 acres.
Well, no, I mean, they
What's
now
more
remaining.
has, yeah.
Yeah.
What's left is 600
That's still
some acres.
considerable
That's
amount
still
of land.
huge.
It's still a lot. Still a lot. So during the Civil War, while all the able-bodied men were out fighting, all the women went to a sister plantation in Alexandria, Virginia, because it was a more neutral area. So it was safer, you know.
Yeah. Not so far south.
So it was only leaving behind like some servants and this really elderly gentleman that was just too old to fight. They were the only ones that were left on the plantation just to kind of maintain it and whatnot. So then a division of Sherman's army under Kilpatrick came and camped out at the Fonti Flora Plantation. So they kind of took it over.
Dang.
They ended up killing all the livestock on the property, right? And they ate off all the fine china that was in the house.
Rude.
And even to this day, you can still find pieces of that china in the pastures and fields.
Oh, whoa.
So basically, they just come in, destroyed things, killed the livestock, ate off the plates, and then like threw the plates on the ground.
They commandeered everything they could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, and that's why it's like so disgusting to me when people treat other people's things like that.
Yeah.
It's like they have zero lack of respect for anything.
Yeah. They have no respect. So after all this, and after they camped out, before they left, they ended up setting the house on fire. And the fire started in the parlor of the home. And to this day, behind one of those bookshelves, you can actually see the charred wall.
Jeez.
So I am guessing then that Sherman's army was from the north.
Yeah, it doesn't even specify, but yes, I mean, that kind of goes without saying, right?
Yeah, because it's like at first it's like, okay, so the Confederate army was there. They needed to eat, so they killed the livestock. They needed something to eat off of, so they ate off the plates. Okay. Rude, but
But then they set it on
understandable.
fire.
But then they set it on fire. I'm like, yeah, that is not the South doing that to themselves.
Yeah. But the servants that were there were able to extinguish the fire.
Good thing they were there.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank goodness, right? So they were able to get ahead of it before it spread. And they were able to put it out. And so the house was actually still standing, mostly intact, obviously, when the men came home from the war.
Right.
Which is always good because back in those days, when stuff like that wouldn't happen, plantations were destroyed. They were just burnt to the ground. So this was really
Thank
rare.
goodness for the people that stayed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, also, like, surprised that they survived. I mean, I was surprised that they weren't killed off.
I'm guessing, if I had to guess, I would guess that they probably used the servants to probably prepare their food for them and whatnot. And so they didn't.
Yep.
They looked at them as not a threat, but.
Or they're like, look, we're not fighting you. We're fighting the army. So we're
I
not gonna
doubt-
kill you.
that.
I highly doubt. For
Because
as disrespectful as they were.
Yeah. Why would they care? They didn't care about anything else.
Yeah, but you're also remembering that this is a time when you had opposing armies sitting across from each other on the battlefield, having singing duels at night. Yeah, they would camp on each other side of the battlefields in clean sight of each other and not do anything until morning.
Interesting.
So it was just such a different time.
Right, but also with the disrespect that they have for the house and their belongings, I don't.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and they
honestly think that they probably were like, we're going to use this to our advantage.
Yep. And they killed the livestock. I don't think it was just for food. It's, from what I'm gathering, they just killed all the creatures, all the livestock, whether they ate it
or not,
or just killed it.
Because I'm sure a lot of it was like, we don't want you to succeed.
Yeah.
We don't want you to do well for yourself. So we are going to destroy everything that we can so
Yep.
that you cannot.
Exactly. So there is also actually evidence of indigenous people being on the property. And often after like a really good rainstorm, when they're walking out there, they can find arrowheads.
Oh, I bet.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they find lots of them. So if the plantation itself lacks any like specific documents of any tribes that might have been there, but the border region in South Carolina was historically inhabited by the Cherokee, the Catawba, and the Kusabo.
Okay. I've only heard of one of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Kusabo, right?
Yeah.
No.
So there's a lot. I mean, and I'm sure there's more histories. So like the current owners, like great-great-grandpa died in the downstairs bedroom. Okay. I think he had like a heart attack or something, and he died in that bedroom. And then his great-great-grandma years later had like a upset stomach, and she went to bed and she died. And then his grandfather, like in 1987, died from a massive stroke at the bottom of the stairs.
Jeesh.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's been death there, obviously. And it goes beyond that, too. Like, there's more death. Because back in those days, like, you
Most
had
people died in their house.
Right.
Yes, but back in those days, you had a lot of stillbirths.
Right.
Okay, so now out front of this plantation house, kind of over by these boxwood trees that they have, there used to be a bunch of little grave markers for all the stillborns.
Oh.
Over the years, though, like over the decades and stuff, I think he said that people have come in and taken them, which is sad in
I was
itself.
going to say, why?
And I don't know.
Why?
People
Like, if
are
it's-
weird.
If it's one thing to like move it
I
to
don't
like
know.
a cemetery or something like that, but to
Yeah, it doesn't sound
grave
like.
rob?
Yeah,
Well, they're
it
taking
sounds
the
like
markers.
they're taking the markers, the headstones,
Are they grave robbing or just the headstones?
just the headstones.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are like stillborns, and they really do believe that there are like they were slave owners, you
Right.
know,
Right.
and of course there's deaths there, and so
Yep.
while none of the family is actually buried on the property, they're in the Monticello Cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
which is really close by, but they do believe that they did bury some of their slaves back there.
That would make sense.
I think
yeah.
that was pretty typical.
Yeah, pretty typical. And yeah, and the death rate would be undocumented.
Yep.
Yeah. So on the video that I watched, it's a Robert Vickery who is the current resident on the property and a descendant of the Pearson family. There was also a little house on the property where one of his uncles lived. I don't think it's there anymore, but it was just a smaller house, and his uncle actually passed away in 2005.
So it
In
could have
that
been
house?
like slave quarters or something.
It was, yeah. Yeah, they had one building that was slave quarters. Well, they built houses for their slaves on the property. They actually treated their slaves well,
Which I love.
because you don't hear of that very often.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting concept because it's like, because if you think about it, they were still labor, right?
Yes.
And they still were going to be, harvesting and doing the things that you needed done on the plantation. So I honestly wonder how much we think of poor mistreatment of slaves as the norm and not the exception.
I don't know.
Because it's like, if you abuse your tractor, then it's not going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same can be said about people.
Right, but not every owner of slaves looked at it that way. They
Well-
just looked at it as like, I'll get more.
Well, and
Right?
this is true. And that's the question I have is like, historically speaking, do we have our understanding correctly, right? Because my understanding of most of the stuff that's happened was from the series roots.
Okay.
Just growing up in growing up in North Dakota. So it's like that's all I'm saying. That's my pondering for that part.
Right. Well, so anyways, his great-grandfather, he actually treated his slaves very well, and he even penned a letter saying he was worried about his Negro friends because of their use of tobacco, because they liked tobacco and they were heavily using it.
Right.
And he was worried about them because they were so heavily using it that he calls them friends. So he had a soft heart towards his help.
Yeah.
He built them homes, and a lot of his, slaves, even after, they could be free, stayed. And some of their children stayed because they were treated well
That's awesome.
and taken care of.
And more of a job instead of...
Well, now, so
being forced to
they did harvest cotton. They did pick cotton, but their cotton field was very small. It wasn't like this massive. It was very minute. Like, it wasn't much of anything.
Then what did they raise?
I don't know.
Well, maybe it was livestock. Maybe that was the piece to it, right?
Yeah, it didn't actually say. It's harder than you think to find outside of a certain box of information on this place. It's really hard to find anything that goes any further. So a lot of these things that I'm telling you about now, I got from a 10-minute clip of the owner talking about it. And, he knows the history because it was passed down from like his great-great-great-grandfather to his great-great-grandfather to his
Which is
grandfather.
so cool.
Yeah, and it was just passed down. And so he has all this and like photos and stuff of them, and where you can't find it anywhere else. So I looked.
That's pretty neat.
So between 1991 and 1997, the family had a caretaker that was living in the house. And on multiple occasions, he would hear a violin that was being played up in the attic.
Oh, that's cool.
So when he would get to the top of the stairs, just below the attic, right below the entrance to the attic, it would all stop.
Why does it always stop?
I don't know.
Right?
It's like, they're like, shh, somebody's coming.
See, and that's interesting because remember how I've told you the story of the 3 girls that I heard in my room?
Yeah.
They, in the middle of the night, I woke up to them giggling,
Mm-hmm.
and then one of them goes, shh, she's awake.
Oh, jeez.
And nothing.
Yeah. So then, after it would stop, he'd be like, So he'd walk back down the stairs, and once he got to the bottom of those stairs, it would resume playing.
Of course.
Frustration.
Like, that is so frustrating.
I'd be like, come on, guys. I just want to hear you play.
It's like, how many times can you go up and down those stairs?
Yeah.
You
Right.
know?
You're like sneakily trying to not make a sound.
And that's when they're like, hey, keep doing it. He needs his exercise.
Right? He needs to go up and down the stairs more. So that same caretaker during that time had a 42-year-old daughter, and she came to visit from Texas. And she experienced a number of things. Like, one, she would go to open a door, and as she was like pulling the door open, something would pull it back out of her hand from the other side.
Oh.
Trippy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would unnerve you a little bit. So, and then she would also state that there were things that moved around that didn't even make any sense. Now, she doesn't elaborate on this. She just says things were moved around that made no sense. So she never came back. She refused to come back. She was so petrified, especially with I think if I were to take a door handle and go to open a door, whether it was a closet door, a bedroom door, or whatever, and something from the other side forcibly yanked it back out of my hand, yeah, I don't know if I would go back either.
Yeah.
Or if I would want to sleep there.
That would be a little tough.
If you're a guest there and you have a choice of not staying there,
Right?
I can see why she wouldn't.
Yeah, so they didn't have a lot of slaves. So they had like a few slaves. Most of their slaves that they had worked in the home. Cleaning, cooking, right?
Right.
And then they had like a couple that helped with the like stuff around the house, outside, and the land. It was very minimal because their cotton field was very small.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Well, it's like you have this massive property, right? 1,200 acres now because someone lost 1,800 gambling. But you do very small amounts of actual like farming of it.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, too, though, you don't have the expenses of the land like you do now.
Yeah.
Right.
So it would be easy just to say, hey, let's let 1,000 of those acres just sit while we actually use a couple hundred of the acres.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's do what's manageable.
Right.
But let's not like use all of it, but it's still ours.
Yeah.
So we can hunt or
Whatever.
whatever you need to do.
Yeah. So, but like I said, a majority of their slaves actually stayed on the property, and then a few of their children stayed. They had a cook, and they called her Cookie.
Oh, cute.
This little woman called Cookie. But
you're going to get good food.
right? Dang good food. So, anyways, so the owner's oldest brother was actually partially raised by Ada, who was one of the children of a former slave, and she lived in a house at the back of the property up until 1969. And Ada was known to walk the plantation grounds, and she was actually, they'd see her. She knew it she could walk it with her eyes closed. She knew it so well, and she was really tied to the land and the surroundings. And she was thought to practice a bit of the voodoo, and she was like a medicine woman. And it was something that they say was most likely kind of passed down from her family.
Yeah.
I think it was more common.
Yeah.
Back then. But yeah, she raised his eldest brother until she passed away in 1969. And
that's really cute.
So she was there for, sounds like her whole life.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being born and staying in the same place your entire life? Never leaving?
No. But it happens so much. You look at people and they're like, I am 6th generation in this town. And you're like, your town is 500 people.
Yeah.
Why would you stay? But they do.
Well, okay, so now for more of the ghost stuff. So I watched a documentary, the only one I could find on this place. And yeah, I had to subscribe to a new thing
in order to watch
and
it.
pay $4.99 in order to watch it. I tried to look where, they were like, oh, you could check on Amazon, you could rent it for maybe $5. Not there. I went through everything. Not there. This was the only place I could find it. But I watched it and I found it really interesting. I was actually really impressed with the first few minutes of this thing. So this team of investigators, there's 4 of them. And 3 of them are older, probably late 40s, 50s, right in there. Okay. Our age.
Was it us?
Not a young buck.
Not young, right? And they had experience and they're pretty mellow, down to earth, right? And they go in during the day and they're asking questions. And so there's a record of 2 men. One was named John, one was named Jacob. One killed the other. So they go in there and they're like, who are the 2 spirits that fought on here and one killed the other? And you hear through the EVP, or through the spirit box, you hear John. And then you hear Jacob.
Whoa.
And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. So they're like, how did you kill, I think John killed Jacob. And I think Jacob was the worker. And they're like, how did you kill him? And he goes, stabbed. And so then the one investigator pulls out his pocket knife.
Yeah.
And he opens it up. And he's like, you stabbed him with a knife like this? And the spirit box spits out bigger.
Whoa.
And he's like a big knife, right? And so then they pull out their SLS.
Yeah.
And they're looking around, and there's like this anomaly. Okay, so like a person.
Is there like a figure?
Yep, it was a figure of a person. And then they're like, show us what you did to him. Right?
Yeah.
And so then this other figure appears next to the first one. And it looks like the first one is stabbing the other one. And then you see, for like just like a second, maybe 2 seconds, there's a figure laying on the ground.
What?
And then it disappears.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so then they're like, well, did you kill him out front or did you kill him out back? And the spirit box spits out back. Like, these were so, like, it was answering every question they threw at it.
Whoa.
Accurately. And so I was really impressed with this. I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good. Right?
That is impressive.
So that was actually pretty dang cool. And then there's like these 2 old dolls in one of these rooms. And one looks like it's got a bullet hole in its head.
Oh gosh.
Right? And those dolls have been known to move. And they asked, well, were the dolls here when you were here? And the answer is yes. Right? And then the owner, he had said that one of his buddies, because, they like hunt on the property, like friends of the family will come and hunt on their property. And he's like, my friend came and stayed here. And he was sleeping upstairs in a bedroom. And he's like, and something kept like poking his feet, playing with his feet. And he goes, he thought it was me until he woke up and saw that I wasn't anywhere in there. And he's like, now anytime he comes to the property to hunt, he stays out front in a tent. He won't come in the house. So I thought that was pretty funny. But I mean, if you want to watch that documentary, it's on Scare Network TV. I found it pretty good. Especially the first part of it. And they also have some different like equipment and some techniques that are kind of interesting. That would be interesting to kind of try.
Okay.
So, but I'm trying to think. There was more. I'm trying to think. Yeah.
It definitely sounds like this place has not been investigated a lot.
It doesn't sound like it. And I don't know if the family actually is living in there or if they like rent it out. That's something I never got around to looking up.
Yeah.
But, like I said, it's been in his family for a very long time.
Yeah, a lot of these plantation buildings now have become almost museums.
Yeah, and I think in a
things.
way this is kind of that along those lines in a way.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of off the beaten path. Like when you first start watching like the documentary and stuff, it's like on this little 2-lane dirt road that just kind of winds back into the trees a bit. Like there's nothing else around it. Like there's some grassy area and then there's like a bunch of trees. And in the documentary, they actually go out into the woods and investigate a little bit as well. But it is kind of fascinating. I would like to go investigate it because of the history alone. And I think, like they say there's hauntings in the house. Like the owner says that they have a hat man there. Well, we've heard of the Hat Man.
Right.
I really do believe that the Hat Man is a demon.
I agree.
I fully believe that because even the owner said he had an experience and he's seen the Hat Man, and he says his bed came up off the ground, like not a lot, not like what you see in the movies where it's overly exaggerated, but it lifted off the ground and just shook violently. And scare the crap out of the owner. Like, of course.
But think of the energy needed to pick
do
a
that.
bed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Whether it's even just the end of the bed,
Yep.
right? And shake it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking about someone being in the bed. So
Yeah.
let's say the guy weighs 180 pounds.
Yeah.
Like you're lifting 220 pounds off the ground because of the bed frame and stuff. That's impressive for a spirit to do that.
It is. Yeah. But I found it to be a neat documentary, and there's a lot I think there's a lot more if you want to dive more into it. When I looked, I kept coming up with the same stuff that I've
Right.
told already.
Like repeated things.
hmm
Do they have on the property slave quarters that are still there?
It doesn't sound like it. So they did have one building where
Like where the uncle was?
I think it's where the uncle stayed. And there was a lot, like, I guess some bad stuff happened there. They don't go into what it was. There's rumors of like this family secret,
Of course.
but I don't know how valid that is or if there's any truth to it. You just don't know. But they ended up leveling that building. And I think the slave quarters as well.
Okay. The reason why I ask is we watched a handful of episodes of Ghost Brothers, and they did a plantation, but it wasn't Myrtle. They did a different one I don't remember what the name of it was, and they had slave quarters on property.
Right.
So I was wondering if maybe just by chance they did that one.
Well, I don't know. It depends. How long ago did the Ghost Brothers do it versus when this documentary was made and all that? I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah.
But they did end up tearing down the one building just because they said there was some really dark and bad things coming from there. And it really scared the family. And so they had it leveled.
Which I think in the Ghost Brothers episode, there is a building to the side that they said evil stuff happens in there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in
so
that
It
episode.
totally could be.
So maybe they did that. I'll have to go back and check that one out.
But
Yeah.
also though, I'm sure there were plenty of plantations,
Oh, there were lots.
right? And I'm sure there was plenty of family secrets
Oh, yeah.
that happened in those
Oh,
little buildings. I am sure that's not the only one,
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
hands down.
right? So
I think there's a multitude of things inside those walls that have kind of soaked in.
Yeah.
well, and also I think if and I think it's in the Ghost Brothers one, if I'm correct, that they were thinking that there was voodoo being practiced inside that
Could have been.
building,
Yeah.
and that maybe voodoo dolls were found or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I could be totally thinking about a completely different episode of completely different ghost hunting thing.
I'd be interested to
But-
see if it is.
If it
though.
correlates.
We
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
look. Well, yeah, they also got like an EVP that says cookie, and they had that cook
that's
that they
so
called
cool.
Cookie.
Cute.
So yeah,
Well, and what would be cool is going to a place like that, you're not going to have any outside noise.
oh heck no,
No.
there's nothing close enough by to have that outside noise. Like it is back there.
Right. So you're going to get clear audio.
Yeah,
That would be what is that like?
I know. You could actually start at any time you wanted.
Right?
You wouldn't have to wait for traffic to die down.
Nope.
Or anything like that.
Well, and like I said, these guys started off their investigation in broad daylight, and they got the most impressive responses at that
Right.
time.
See, and people think that we only investigate at night because it's spooky.
Nope.
No, we do it for multiple reasons. And one of the main reasons is we don't want to contaminate our evidence
Right.
with outside noise.
Right. And there's less of that because there's less people out and everything else at that time.
Yeah,
of
and the
night.
later you go, typically the quieter that it gets.
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
So-
and that's the main reason
Yes.
that we investigate at night.
Yes.
But you can find some amazing stuff during the day.
Just because the lights are on doesn't make a difference.
That's right.
So I've seen shadow balls in the middle of the day
Mm-hmm. Yep.
on a beautiful sunny day. So
Yeah.
it does happen.
It does. But this is a place I would like to go as well, just because it's out there. There's a lot of acreage. There's
I'm sure it's beautiful land.
oh, it's gorgeous. Civil War era.
I
It's seen
love
so
the
much.
history. And I love the fact that the slaves were treated well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for the most part, it would be a pretty calm
Yeah.
and fun investigation.
Yeah.
Like there is a different feel when things have been when people have been treated badly,
Yeah.
or a lot of murder has happened, or, you know, whatever. You get that bad energy generally.
Oh, of course.
But if you can get a
feel it.
good place like this where it's wholesome and it's like people were treated well,
Yeah.
and yeah, people died, but it's not like they died of horrible murderous deaths. I mean, there was the one.
Well, yeah, there was the one stabbing, and then where this Hat Man comes in. But I've only heard one actual report on him.
Which could be because of the person.
Yeah, it
not the
sounds,
place.
but it sounds like he wanders around the outside of the house, from what I read.
Well, and,
So,
yeah, and if there was something like voodoo being practiced on the property, was it kind of a conjuring that happens on the outside? You know, that because of the way the other energy is on the inside of the building, he's not able to enter.
and maybe, well, but see, the voodoo part with Ada, who raised his eldest brother and then passed away in 1969.
Right.
I don't think she was, like, if she was practicing, she was more like a medicine woman, but if she was practicing voodoo, honestly, I don't know that her intentions were bad with it. Maybe she wanted the property trying to, like, protect.
Right, but
And maybe that's why the Hat Man can't.
could be. But
Enter
remember,
the
she learned
dwellings.
too. So she learned from somebody else.
That's true, but
And
they
it's all
describe her
passed
as
down.
such a loving, motherly,
Right.
you know.
But
if-
you never know. People get angry.
Well, right. And
They do.
What if it's sixth generation voodoo,
Who knows?
you know, and then
Who knows?
because it's all got to be learned from somewhere. And so maybe the very first one was more ornery because that was, you know, pre-Civil War.
Maybe.
And then who knows?
It's entirely
how things
possible,
would've
like,
been.
but we just don't know.
Right.
We just don't
I
know.
will say this, though. I've had my own personal experience twice with the Hat Man.
Really?
Twice. And from my own personal experience, and from the experiences that I've heard from other people who have had experiences with the Hat Man, it is very personal. It is not a location thing.
Right.
It is a person that is there. That is
So tied to an individual.
So, in my personal opinion, I would say that it is whoever was there was the target.
Right.
I don't think it's the place in general. I think it's the person that
Yeah.
it's going after. It is very personal based.
Right.
It's not based on the property.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
That makes total sense. Well, and that's that we've talked about that too, right? Is it the property? Is it the place? Or is it the person?
Right.
Because it
And
could be all three.
But I think for the Hat Man, I
It's
think it's the person.
The person.
Because a demon to that nature is not going to hang around a property just for the heck of it.
Right.
That has a positive energy.
He's there on business.
He's there on business. He's got a plan. He's got something to do.
Yep.
And that's why the people have experiences that they do with the Hat Man. It's very personal.
Yeah. But,
You never know.
and you know, and there's more. But I do highly recommend watching the documentary on Scare Network TV.
Do you remember what it was called?
Yeah. Fonti Flora.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's it. Fonti Flora. Look it up. It'll be right there. It's like an 8-hour and 18-minute documentary.
Not
So
a
are you
short
watching the live investigation? Not live, but are you watching the entire investigation? Or
no.
documentary, I guess? Like,
Yeah, they show you bits and pieces. It's not really cut up though, so you get good pieces, so you don't feel like you're skipping around too much. They give you some of the history, all the things. So
It's amazing how much flow makes a difference on enjoyment of a paranormal documentary.
yeah. Well, and then they went up in the attic because the two guys that started off went up in the attic and they were waiting for the other two guys to get to the location. And they went up to the attic and there was a woman up there that was asking for one of the investigators that hadn't arrived yet. And she was asking for him to come up to the attic to pray for her. So eventually he does go up there and he talks with her. And then he prays for her. And then the response, he gets like a female response and a male response. And the male says, "You've helped us all."
and is this over the spirit box?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think so. I don't quite remember.
Okay.
And then the female, I can't remember what she says, but it sounds like he's like, well, I hope you go into the light, and and they're like, thank you, you've helped us all. And
That's way cool.
so I do highly recommend to watch it. I found it really interesting. It's a very basic investigation. Like, it's not a bunch of still cameras
but
or
it sounds
anything.
pretty detailed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of a situation where a spirit asked to be prayed for.
This one did. And they asked for the guy by name. I can't remember. I think his name was Sean.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. But I highly recommend
It's
watching
intriguing, actually.
it. Yeah. Well, you and I can always watch it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the 8.5 hours.
No. 1 hour, 18 minutes.
Oh, I think
you
said 8
8.5
hours.
Did I?
Yeah. I was like, that
okay,
better
that's
be
my
way
bad.
detailed.
It's 1 hour, 18 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's
Much-
a totally
much easier
different
to
number.
watch.
Much more doable.
Yes.
You really
Okay.
think I stayed up all night and watched 8 hours of that thing?
I wouldn't put it past you.
No, I know, but no, 1 hour, 18 minutes. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
Like, that was dedication. They didn't edit that thing.
I think I would have a lot more than just what I given if I had watched 8 hours. Of
I
it.
honestly was thinking, how does she not remember more if it
Right?
was 8 hours?
No,
Well,
1
maybe
hour,
'cause it's
18
eight-
minutes.
Maybe because it's 8 hours.
And I was in and out.
Boy, that's longer than the unedited version of Dances with Wolves.
Okay, well, 1 hour, 18 minutes.
Okay.
Doable.
That's
That's
doable.
doable.
And it is really, really good.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it then.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, everybody, if I'd like to know, have you guys ever been to a plantation or investigated a plantation? Because I know there's
Myrtles.
Myrtle and there's other ones out there. But if you've been, have you ever been to this one?
I've never heard of this one,
I haven't either.
ever.
So it'd be interesting to see how many people have actually heard of this location.
Yeah.
So if you have, let us know. And as always, stay ghosty, my peeps. Thank you for listening to the Paranormal Peeps podcast. You can find us on social media at Twitter at CPR Paranormal, on Facebook at Paranormal Peeps Podcast and Cold Spot Paranormal Research. And you can find us on Instagram at coldspot_paranormal_research.